Captain Derek Hayes stood at the viewing window of the shuttle, watching the massive space station grow larger as they approached. Centrum 7 Diplomatic Station hung in orbit like a silver wheel, so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. This was humanity's first real chance to join the galactic community, and Derek felt the weight of that responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. Nervous? Lieutenant Amy Sullivan asked from the seat behind him. She was flipping through data files on her tablet, reading everything she could about the species they were about to meet. A little, Derek admitted. He turned away from the window and sat down in his seat. We've talked to a few alien species before, but never this many at once. There are supposed to be over 300 different civilizations at this summit. Amy nodded and set down her tablet. I've been reading their files all week. It's amazing how different they all are. Some breathe methane instead of oxygen. Some see in wavelengths we can't even imagine. But you know what I find most interesting? What? They're all really strict about food. Every species file has a whole section about their diet, and it's always the same. They're either herbivores or carnivores. Nothing in between. Derek shrugged. Makes sense, I guess. Most animals on Earth are one or the other too. True, but humans aren't. I wonder how they'll react to that. The shuttle docked with the station 20 minutes later. As soon as the airlock opened, Derek and Amy were met by a tall, thin creature that looked like a praying mantis stretched to human height. Its compound eyes glittered in the station's bright lights, and its forearms moved in careful, precise gestures. "Welcome, humans," the creature said in perfect English, though its mouthparts clicked and chittered as it spoke. "I am Ambassador Velkara of the Zinthari Collective. We are pleased to host your species at the Unity Assembly." Derek extended his hand, then remembered that might not be the right greeting. He pulled it back awkwardly. "Thank you, Ambassador. I'm Captain Derek Hayes, and this is Lieutenant Amy Sullivan. We're honored to be here." Velkara's head tilted to the side. "Please follow me. We must complete your registration before the assembly begins." They walked through wide corridors filled with beings of every shape and size. Derek saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that seemed to be made of liquid held together by force fields, and some that defied easy description. Amy's eyes were wide with wonder, and she kept her tablet out, taking notes on everything she saw. The registration office was a large, circular room with dozens of desks arranged around the edges. Each desk had a different alien sitting behind it, processing newcomers. Velkara led them to an empty station and gestured for them to sit. "Now then," Velkara said, pulling up a holographic form between them. "Most of this is simple. Name, homeworld, technological level, all of which we already know. But there is one critical question that determines your placement in the assembly." "What's that?" Derek asked. "Your dietary classification." Velkara's compound eyes fixed on them. "The Unity Assembly is arranged by feeding category for the comfort and safety of all species. Herbivorous species sit in the green chamber. Carnivorous species sit in the red chamber. Specialized feeders, those who consume minerals, energy, or other unique substances, sit in the silver chamber. So, which chamber will humanity require?" Derek and Amy exchanged glances. Amy spoke first. "Well, humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals." The room went quiet. Derek noticed that several nearby aliens had stopped their work and were staring at them. Velkara's antennae quivered, and her clicking intensified. "Pardon me," Velkara said slowly. "I must have misunderstood. You consume both vegetable matter and flesh." "Yes," Amy confirmed. "Humans have done so for millions of years. Our bodies are designed to digest both." Velkara stood up abruptly. Her chair scraped against the floor. "That is not possible." Herbivores and carnivores are separate evolutionary paths. A species cannot be both. Derek leaned forward. I assure you, Ambassador, it's very possible. On Earth, many animals are omnivores. Bears, pigs, most primates, including humans. We have teeth designed for both tearing meat and grinding plants. Our digestive systems can process a wide variety of foods. Another alien approached the desk. This one was reptilian, with dark green scales and eyes that reminded Derek of a crocodile. I am Council Leader Thomer, the creature rumbled. Did I hear correctly? You claim to eat both prey and plants? We don't really think of them as prey, Amy said carefully. We farm most of our food. We grow crops and raise animals. But yes, we eat both. Thomer's pupils narrowed to slits. I am carnivorous. My people hunt and consume flesh. It is our nature, our way. We would never degrade ourselves by eating plants like common prey animals. From across the room, a flower-like being floated over. Its petals were bright yellow, and it moved by some kind of anti-gravity technology. And I am Scientist Krelon of the Florith, it said in a high, whistling voice. My people photosynthesize and consume only plants and minerals. The thought of killing and eating another living creature fills me with horror. How can you claim to do both? More aliens were gathering now. Derek felt like he was on trial. He stood up and faced the growing crowd. Look, I know this seems strange to you, but it's completely normal for humans. We're not trying to cause trouble. We just eat what our bodies need. Sometimes that's vegetables, sometimes that's meat. Usually it's both together in the same meal. The crowd murmured and clicked and whistled in what Derek assumed was shock. Valkara tapped rapidly on her holographic display. There is no protocol for this. The Unity Assembly has existed for 12,000 years, and never has a species claimed to consume both categories of food. There must be some mistake, Thomer growled. No predator would eat plants. It goes against everything we are. And no civilized being would hunt and kill, Krelon added, its petals quivering. That is the way of savages, of those who have not yet evolved beyond violence. Amy pulled out her tablet and started scrolling through files. I have extensive documentation of human biology and our evolutionary history. We can prove what we're saying. Valkara held up one of her forehands. Peace. We are not calling you liars. But you must understand, this is unprecedented. The entire structure of galactic civilization is built around dietary categories. Herbivores and carnivores have not mixed freely in 10,000 years, not since the ancient wars. Our separation keeps the peace. We're not asking anyone to change their ways, Derek said. We're just asking for a place at the table. Whatever chamber you put us in, we'll make it work. Thomer shook his massive head. But which chamber? You cannot sit with herbivores while you consume flesh. They would be terrified, viewing you as predators. And you cannot sit with carnivores while you eat plants. We would see you as prey, or worse, as something unnatural. Then put us in the silver chamber with the specialized feeders, Amy suggested. Krelon's petals fluttered. The silver chamber is for those who consume energy or minerals or other non-living substances. You claim to eat living things. Both kinds of living things. Where you fit, I cannot say. Valkara tapped her display again, and the holographic form disappeared. I am suspending your registration until the Council can convene to discuss this matter. You will be housed in the neutral diplomatic quarters. You may not enter any of the assembly chambers until we have decided how to categorize you. But the summit starts tomorrow, Derek protested. I am aware, Valkara said, and her tone was firm. But we cannot risk the harmony of the Unity Assembly. If what you say is true, if you truly consume both plants and flesh without restriction, then you are something the galaxy has never encountered before. And what we do not understand, we must approach with caution. Derek wanted to argue, but Amy put a hand on his arm and shook her head slightly. She was right. Pushing now would only make things worse. We understand, Derek said. We'll wait for your decision. Valkara S. Anteni relaxed slightly. Thank you for your cooperation. Please, follow me to your quarters. As they walked away from the registration area, Derek could feel hundreds of eyes watching them. Word was already spreading through the station. The humans had arrived, and they were something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that ate everything. He just hoped that being different would not make them enemies before they even had a chance to make friends. 3 days had passed since Derek and Amy arrived at the station, and they were still stuck in their quarters. Through the windows, they could see other delegates moving freely through the corridors, attending sessions and making deals. But the humans remained in limbo, waiting for the council to decide what to do with them. Amy had spent most of those 3 days preparing a presentation. Her quarters were covered in papers and holographic displays showing everything from human tooth structure to diagrams of the digestive system. Derek had helped where he could, but biology was not his specialty. He was a soldier who had become a diplomat, not a scientist. On the morning of the 4th day, Valkara arrived at their door. The council has agreed to hear your evidence, she said. Her tone was formal, almost cold. They have assembled in a special session. Please, bring whatever materials you have prepared. The council chamber was smaller than Derek expected. It was a circular room with seats arranged in tiers, like an ancient amphitheater. About 50 aliens sat in those seats, representing different species and dietary groups. Derek recognized Thomer, the reptilian carnivore, sitting on one side. Creolon, the flower-like herbivore, sat on the opposite side. The separation was clear and deliberate. In the center of the room was a raised platform with a holographic projector. Amy set up her equipment while Derek stood beside her, trying to look calm and professional. He could feel the weight of all those alien eyes on them. You may begin, Thomer said. His voice echoed in the chamber. Amy activated the first hologram. It showed a rotating image of a human skull. Thank you for seeing us, honored council members. I want to start by showing you the physical evidence of human omnivory. This is a human skull. As you can see, we have several types of teeth. She zoomed in on different parts. These front teeth, the incisors, are sharp and designed for cutting. These pointed teeth, the canines, are for tearing. And these back teeth, the molars, are flat and designed for grinding. A pure carnivore has mostly sharp teeth for tearing meat. A pure herbivore has mostly flat teeth for grinding plants. Humans have both. A bluish alien with tentacles raised one of its appendages. Could this not be a transitional form? Perhaps your species is evolving from one diet to another? No, Amy said. We've studied human fossils going back millions of years. Our ancestors have always had this mix of teeth. It's not a transition. It's our permanent state. She changed the hologram to show the digestive system. This is the human digestive tract. It's designed to process both plant and animal matter. Our stomachs produce strong acids that can break down meat, but our intestines are long enough to extract nutrients from plants. We're perfectly balanced between the two extremes. Creolon's petals rustled. This is disturbing. On my world, there are creatures that eat both plants and small insects, but they are considered primitive. They never developed true civilization. How can you claim to be sapient while maintaining such a base, unspecialized nature? Derek spoke up. With respect, Scientist Krellon, our diet is not base. It's flexible. Humans can survive in almost any environment because we can eat almost anything. That flexibility helped us spread across our entire planet. We live in deserts, forests, mountains, frozen wastelands, and tropical jungles. Our ability to adapt our diet to whatever is available made us successful. Or dangerous, a new voice said. A large, crab-like creature scuttled forward from the carnivore section. I am General Hakthar of the Kroth Empire. My people are warriors and hunters. We respect the food chain. Predators hunt prey. Prey eat plants. This is the natural order. What you describe sounds like chaos. No limits. No rules. Amy brought up a new image. It showed a food web from Earth, with arrows connecting different species. It might seem like chaos, but it's actually very organized. On Earth, energy flows from the sun to plants, from plants to herbivores, from herbivores to carnivores. But we also have omnivores at multiple levels, creating connections between different parts of the system. This makes our ecosystems more stable, not less. Stable for whom? Hakthar demanded. If your species can eat anything, what stops you from consuming everything? The question hung in the air. Derek realized they had reached the core of the issue. The aliens were not just confused about human biology. They were afraid. Before either Derek or Amy could answer, a new figure entered the chamber. It was an alien, unlike any Derek had seen before. It looked ancient, with pale, papery skin stretched over a hunched frame. It moved slowly, using a floating chair to support its weight. When it spoke, everyone in the chamber fell silent. I am Elder Nemris, the ancient being said. Its voice was soft but clear. I have lived for 600 of your Earth years, and I have studied galactic history for most of that time. I wish to examine these humans myself, if the Council permits. Thomer nodded. Of course, Elder. Your wisdom is always welcome. Nemris floated closer to the platform. Its large, dark eyes studied Derek and Amy with an intensity that made Derek uncomfortable. Open your mouth, human, it said to Derek. Derek hesitated, then complied. Nemris leaned in close, examining his teeth. Then it moved to Amy and did the same. After a long moment, it floated back. It is as they say, Nemris announced. These beings have the dental structure of both hunter and hunted. This is not a deformity or a transitional state. This is their true nature. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens seemed fascinated, others horrified. Nemris continued. I wish to perform a medical scan, if you will permit it. Amy nodded. Of course, Elder. A medical drone descended from the ceiling, bathing them both in soft blue light. Holographic displays appeared around the room, showing the results in real time. Derek watched as the scan revealed his internal organs, his bone structure, even the chemical composition of his blood. Remarkable, Nemris whispered. Their digestive enzymes are complex. They can break down cellulose from plants and proteins from meat with equal efficiency. Their bodies are truly designed for this dual consumption. A small furry alien stood up in the herbivore section. But why? What evolutionary pressure would create such a thing? On my world, we chose the path of peace. We eat only what grows from the ground. It makes us gentle, cooperative. We would never harm another living being. And on my world, Hakthar growled, we chose the path of strength. We hunt, we fight, we survive by being superior. Our diet defines who we are. It gives us purpose and honor. Derek understood what they were really asking. You want to know what our diet says about us, he said. You've built your entire cultures around what you eat. Herbivores see themselves as peaceful. Carnivores see themselves as strong. You're wondering what omnivores are, what we believe in. Precisely, Thomer said. Every species in this chamber can point to their diet as the foundation of their values. What are yours? Amy looked at Derek, and he could see she did not have a good answer. Neither did he. They had prepared to explain biology, not philosophy. I don't know, Derek admitted. Humans have many different beliefs and values. Some of us are warriors, like General Hector's people. Some of us are peaceful farmers. Most of us are somewhere in between. Our diet is flexible, so maybe our identity is flexible too. That is what frightens me, Valkara said, speaking for the first time since the session began. A species without a fixed nature. A species that can be anything, eat anything. How do we know what you will become? Memris raised a withered hand, calling for silence. There is something you all should know. Something I had hoped was merely legend, but these humans have reminded me it may be history. The chamber grew still. Even Thelmer leaned forward, waiting. 80,000 years ago, Nemris said, there was another species like these humans. They called themselves the Virkith. They too were omnivorous. They too could eat anything. And they nearly conquered the entire galaxy. Derek felt his blood run cold. What happened to them? They were destroyed, Nemris said simply. Every world they touched, every species they encountered, they consumed. Not just for food, but for resources, for territory, for the simple fact that they could. They had no natural limits, you see. A carnivore can only expand so far before running out of prey. An herbivore can only spread as far as the plants grow. But the Virkith could eat anything, adapt to anywhere. They became an unstoppable hunger. And you think we're like them? Amy asked, her voice shaking. I think you could be, Nemris said. The biological similarity is undeniable. The question is whether you will choose to be. Dolmer stood. This session is concluded. The Council will deliberate on what we have learned. Humans, you will return to your quarters until we reach a decision. As Derek and Amy walked back through the corridors, neither spoke. The other delegates they passed now looked at them differently. Not just with confusion, but with fear. Back in their quarters, Amy collapsed into a chair. They think we're monsters. Reincarnations of these Virkith things. Derek stood at the window, looking out at the stars. Maybe we need to show them we're different. That we can choose to be better. How? Amy asked. They've already made up their minds. Derek did not have an answer. But he knew that if they could not convince the Council, humanity's chance to join the galactic community would be over before it truly began. And it would all be because of what they ate. Derek woke up on the 5th day with a message waiting on his communication terminal. It was from Velkara, and to his surprise, it was not bad news. The Council had agreed to allow humans to participate in a cultural exchange meal. It was meant to ease tensions and help other species understand human dietary habits better. Derek was not sure it was a good idea, but Amy seemed excited. This is our chance, she said as they prepared. If they can see that eating is just normal for us, not some violent or savage act, maybe they'll calm down. Or they'll panic worse than before, Derek muttered. A third human had arrived on the station the night before. His name was Peter Grant, and he was a chef. The diplomatic corps had sent him specifically for occasions like this. Peter was a calm, friendly man in his 40s, with gray hair and steady hands. He had cooked for presidents and ambassadors back on Earth. Now he would be cooking for aliens. So what's the plan? Peter asked as they set up in one of the station's communal dining areas. The room was large and circular, with transparent walls that looked out into space. Tables were arranged in a spiral pattern, each one designed for different body types and sizes. We're supposed to demonstrate human food culture, Amy explained. Show them what we eat and how we prepare it. The Council has invited delegates from both herbivore and carnivore groups. Peter unpacked his supplies, ingredients that had been shipped from Earth at great expense. Right, and they're okay with me cooking meat? They said they want to see authentic human cuisine, Derek said. So yes, meat is part of that. "This is either going to go really well or really badly," Peter said. But he smiled as he said it, and Derek could tell the chef was not worried. Peter had the confidence that came from years of experience. The first guests began arriving an hour later. Velkar was among them, along with scientist Krelon. Several other herbivorous species entered, keeping their distance from the cooking area. Then came the carnivores. General Hakthar stomped in on his many legs, followed by Thelmer and a few others Derek did not recognize. One alien caught Derek's attention. It was tall and thin, with midnight blue skin and 4 arms. It moved with a grace that reminded Derek of a dancer. When it spoke, its voice was melodic. "I am Zaxxon, warrior poet of the Solari people," it said, bowing slightly to Derek. "I am carnivorous, as my people have always been. But I come here with an open mind. I wish to understand you." "Thank you," Derek said, returning the bow. "That means a lot." Peter had set up a cooking station in the center of the room. He had brought a portable heating unit and various tools. As the aliens settled into their seats around the room, carefully maintaining separation between herbivores and carnivores, Peter began to work. "I'm going to prepare a traditional human meal," Peter announced. His voice was calm and clear. "On Earth, we often eat what we call a balanced meal. It includes vegetables, grains, and protein. I'll start with the vegetables." He pulled out carrots, peppers, and leafy greens. With quick, precise movements, he began to chop them. The herbivorous aliens leaned forward, watching with interest. This was familiar to them. "These are wonderful," Krelon said. "On my world, we cultivate similar crops. The colors, the variety. This I understand." "Good," Peter said with a smile. "Now I'll prepare these with some herbs and oil." He heated a pan and added the vegetables, and soon the room filled with the smell of cooking food. The herbivores seemed pleased. Then Peter pulled out a cut of beef. The change in the room was immediate. The herbivorous aliens drew back. Krelon's petals closed partially, a sign of distress. Valkara's antennae went rigid. "What is that?" A small rabbit-like alien squeaked from the back of the room. "This is beef," Peter explained. "It comes from an animal called a cow. On Earth, we raise cows specifically for food. This is a normal part of human diet. You kill them?" The rabbit alien asked, its voice trembling. "Yes," Peter said simply. "Humanely and with respect for the animal. But yes, we kill them for food." Several herbivores stood up and moved toward the exit. Velkara raised a hand to stop them. "Please, stay. We agreed to observe. We must see this through." Peter seasoned the meat and placed it in a hot pan. The sizzling sound made several aliens flinch. But the carnivores were now paying close attention. Hakthar moved closer, his eye stalks focused on the cooking meat. "This is proper," Hakthar said. "You hunt your prey and consume their flesh. This I can respect, even if your method is strange." "We don't really hunt cows," Amy explained. "We farm them. But the principle is the same." Peter cooked the meat to medium rare, then removed it from the heat. He plated it alongside the vegetables he had prepared earlier, adding a portion of rice and a drizzle of sauce. The final presentation was beautiful, a balanced meal with colors and textures carefully arranged. "And now I eat," Peter said. He picked up his fork and knife. Derek watched the room carefully. The herbivores were still uncomfortable, but seemed willing to observe. The carnivores looked satisfied. This was going better than he had feared. Then Peter did something that changed everything. He cut a piece of the meat, ate it, and followed it immediately with a forkful of vegetables. The carnivores recoiled as if struck. Hakthar's mandibles clicked rapidly, and what Derek had learned was a sign of distress. Tolmar's pupils dilated, and his claws extended. "What are you doing?" Hakthar demanded. Peter looked up, confused. I'm eating my meal. Is something wrong? You ate flesh and then immediately ate plants, Thomer said, his voice low and dangerous. In the same bite. From the same mouth. Yes, Peter said slowly. That's how humans eat. We combine different foods together. Zaxxon stood up, all four arms raised in a gesture Derek could not interpret. This is wrong. When my people hunt, we honor our prey by consuming only them. We would never dishonor their sacrifice by mixing their flesh with plants, with the food of prey animals. It is sacrilege. Amy stood up. It's not sacrilege to us. It's just dinner. We're designed to eat both. It would be wasteful to eat only one type of food when our bodies can use both. Wasteful? Creolon's voice was high and distressed. You speak of waste while you murder living creatures? My people find the entire concept of killing for food to be horrific. But at least the carnivores have the excuse of biological necessity. You do not. You could survive on plants alone, yet you choose to kill anyway. Derek had not expected this. He thought the aliens understood that humans ate both. But seeing it, witnessing a human actually consuming meat and vegetables in the same meal, was different from hearing about it. Our bodies work best with both types of food, Amy tried to explain. We can survive on just plants or just meat for a while, but we need both for optimal health. It's not about choice. It's about biology. Everything is about choice, Zaxxon said. The warrior poet's voice was quiet but firm. My people choose to honor the hunt. The herbivores choose to honor life. You choose to honor nothing. You simply consume. Peter had stopped eating. He set down his fork. I'm sorry if this offends you. That wasn't my intention. A young alien that looked like a deer with purple fur suddenly stood up in the herbivore section. His name was Pimsha, and it had been quiet until now. I feel sick, it said. Watching you eat that meat, and then those vegetables with the same hunger, the same casual ease. It's like you see no difference between them. Like everything is just food to you. Because it is, Derek said. He had not meant to speak, but the words came out. To humans, food is food. We're grateful for it, whatever it is. We don't divide the world into hunters and hunted the way you do. We're both. We're neither. We're something else. That's what terrifies us, Valkara said softly. You are something else. Something we have no category for. Peter had prepared multiple dishes, planning to show the variety of human cuisine. But now nobody wanted to see more. The herbivores were clustered together near the exit, looking like they might bolt at any moment. The carnivores had backed away from the humans, their body language defensive. Amy pulled up information on her tablet. Look, I know this is strange to you, but humans are not unique in this. On Earth, we have thousands of omnivorous species. Bears, pigs, rats, crows, many primates. It's actually quite common. On your world, Akthar said. But you are the only omnivorous sapient species we have ever encountered. The only one that built a civilization while maintaining this dual nature. The only one except the Virkith, Thomer added darkly. The room went silent. Peter looked at Derek, confused. Derek had not told him about the Virkith yet. Pimsha, the young deer-like alien, suddenly collapsed. Several herbivores rushed to help it. I cannot breathe, Pimsha gasped. The humans, they eat everything. They consume everything. They have no limits. Medical drones descended from the ceiling, attending to Pimsha. Other aliens were leaving now, filing out of the dining area. The cultural exchange was falling apart. Zaxxon approached Derek. The warrior poet looked sad rather than angry. I wanted to understand you, Zaxxon said. I truly did. But watching your chef eat without hesitation, without ritual, without acknowledging the difference between life taken and life grown, it troubles me deeply. We do acknowledge it, Derek protested. We have farmers who care for their crops. We have ranchers who care for their animals. We have hunters who respect their prey. It's just that we do all of it. That is the problem. The emergency council session was called for dawn, station time. Derek had not slept. He spent the night reading everything he could find about galactic history, trying to understand what the aliens feared so much. Amy was doing the same, her quarters filled with holographic files and ancient records. When they arrived at the council chamber, it was already full. Every seat was occupied, and more aliens stood along the walls. This was not just a council session anymore. This was a trial. Domer called the session to order. His voice was grave. We gathered to determine the fate of humanity's application to join the Unity Assembly. In light of recent events, this decision has become urgent. General Hakthar, you may present your concerns. The large, crab-like warrior moved to the center platform. Thank you, Council Leader. I speak for the Carnivorous Coalition. We have reviewed human history, their military records, their methods of warfare. What we have found disturbs us greatly. Hakthar activated a holographic display. It showed images from human history, battles and weapons and soldiers. Derek recognized scenes from Earth's wars, conflicts spanning thousands of years. Humans are efficient killers, Hakthar continued. They have developed thousands of ways to end life. Weapons that strike from vast distances. Poisons that kill silently. Machines that destroy entire cities. They have fought wars that claim millions of lives. And they did this while also farming, building, creating art and culture. They can switch between peaceful cultivation and total war without hesitation. We've fought wars, Derek admitted. Yes, but we've also had long periods of peace. We're not just warriors. That is precisely the problem, Hakthar said. My people are warriors. It is our nature. We fight because we must, because our biology demands it. But we have rules, codes of honor. We respect our enemies. We do not fight while pretending to be peaceful farmers. But you do. You are farmers who can become warriors. Warriors who can become farmers. You have no fixed nature. No predictable behavior. Creolon floated to the platform next. The flower-like scientist's petals were pale, almost white. I speak for the Herbivorous Alliance. We too have reviewed human history. What disturbs us is different, but equally troubling. Humans have consumed over 10,000 different species on their home world. Plants, animals, insects, fish, creatures from land and sea and air. They eat them raw, cooked, fermented, processed in countless ways. This is not eating for survival. This is eating as conquest. Amy stood up. That's not fair. We eat a variety of foods because we've spread across our entire planet. Different regions have different resources. We adapted to what was available. That's survival, not conquest, is it? Creolon's voice was sharp. You did not just adapt. You deliberately sought out new things to consume. You traveled to distant lands specifically to find new foods, new flavors. You created entire sciences around combining and preparing different ingredients. You turned eating into an art form. This speaks to something deeper than mere survival. It speaks to curiosity, Amy protested. To creativity. Those are good things. Or to hunger without limit, Valkara said from her seat. A need to consume everything you encounter. Derek felt his frustration rising. You're judging us for being curious about food? For enjoying eating? That's ridiculous. No, a new voice said. Elder Nemrus floated to the front of the chamber. They are judging you because you remind them of the Virkith. And they have good reason to fear that comparison. The ancient being gestured, and new holographic images appeared. These were older, grainy, like photographs from ancient times. They showed cities burning, worlds scarred, and creatures that looked vaguely humanoid. The Virkith were omnivorous, like you, Nemris said. But they took it further. They saw food not just as sustenance, but as a tool of conquest. When they invaded a world, they did not just defeat the inhabitants. They consumed their food sources. They ate the crops of herbivorous species, destroying their agriculture. They hunted the prey animals of carnivorous species, starving them. They could survive on anything, so they denied everyone else the ability to eat. Derek felt sick. That's horrible. Yes, Nemris agreed. It was strategic and brutal. The Virkith understood that their omnivory gave them an advantage. They used it as a weapon, and they were very, very successful. Amy was scrolling through files on her tablet, reading as fast as she could. How did the galaxy stop them? At great cost, Nemris said. Every species, herbivore and carnivore alike, united against them. It was the only time in galactic history when dietary enemies worked together. We fought the Virkith for 300 years. Entire civilizations fell. Dozens of species went extinct. But eventually, we won. We destroyed every Virkith world, eliminated every trace of their civilization. And you created the Unity Assembly afterward, Derek said, understanding now. You divided species by diet to make sure it never happened again. Exactly, Thelmer confirmed. By keeping herbivores and carnivores separate, we ensure no species can manipulate both groups. The system has maintained peace for 80,000 years. Until you arrived. A new alien stepped forward. Derek had not seen this one before. It was tall and covered in dark blue scales, with eyes that glowed red. I am Security Chief Corval. I have analyzed the threat humans pose. The similarities to the Virkith are undeniable. Omnivorous biology, adaptable culture, history of warfare and expansion, and most disturbing, evidence that humans are not content to stay on their own world. Corval displayed new images, these showing human space exploration. You have already begun spreading to other planets in your system. You have plans for interstellar colonies. You are expanding, just as the Virkith did. And you consume everything in your path. We're exploring, Amy said. That's different from conquering, is it? Corval's red eyes fixed on her. You terraform planets, changing their entire ecosystems to suit your needs. You introduce Earth species to new worlds. You consume local resources. How is this different from what the Virkith did? Derek wanted to argue, but he could see where this was going. The council had already decided. They had called this session to justify a decision they had already made. I have more to share, Nemris said. The ancient being's voice was sad. I was alive when we defeated the Virkith. I was young, but I remember. And I remember something important. The Virkith claimed they were not evil. They claimed they were simply exercising their natural abilities. They argued that their omnivory was a gift, not a curse. They said the galaxy should accept them as they were. Just like you are saying now, Velkara added, looking at Derek and Amy. But we're different, Derek insisted. We don't want to conquer anyone. We just want to be part of the galactic community. The Virkith said the same thing at first, Nemris replied. They promised peace. They offered trade and cooperation. It was only later, after they had established themselves, that they revealed their true nature. By then, it was almost too late to stop them. Amy's hands were shaking. Derek could see tears in her eyes. So you're going to reject us because of what some other species did 80,000 years ago? That's not fair. We're not them. Can you prove that? Thelmer asked. The question was serious, not rhetorical. Can you prove you will never become what the Virkith became? Derek and Amy looked at each other. How could they prove something like that? How could anyone prove what they might become in the future? No, Derek said finally. We can't prove that. Nobody can prove what they'll do in the future. But we can tell you what we've done so far. Yes, we've fought wars. But we've also made peace. We've destroyed, but we've also created. We've consumed, but we've also cultivated. We're not perfect, but we're trying to be better. Trying is not enough, Corval said. The security of the galaxy cannot rest on your good intentions. Then, what do you want from us? Amy asked. Should we change our biology? Should we choose to be only herbivores or only carnivores? We can't do that. This is what we are. Quilon's petals opened slightly. Perhaps that is the answer. Perhaps what you are is incompatible with galactic civilization. Derek felt his anger flare. So you're going to exile us? Keep us locked away on Earth because you're afraid of what we might do. Not exile, Dulmer said. But we must consider restrictions. Perhaps humans can trade with the galaxy, but not join the Unity Assembly. Perhaps you can have limited contact, but not full integration. We must protect ourselves. From what? Derek demanded. We haven't done anything to you. We came here in peace, offering friendship. And you're treating us like criminals because of our diet. Because diet is destiny, Hakthar said. It shapes everything about a species. Their values, their culture, their potential. You cannot separate what you eat from what you are. Zaxxon had been silent until now, but the warrior poet finally spoke. I have listened to all of this with great interest. And I have a question for the humans. When you eat, do you feel guilt? When you consume an animal, do you acknowledge its sacrifice? When you harvest a plant, do you thank it for its life? Derek thought about it. Some humans do. We have many different traditions and beliefs about food. Some people pray before meals. Some people choose not to eat meat because they believe it's wrong. Others hunt their own food to maintain a connection to what they eat. There's no single human answer. The final council session began at noon. Derek had asked for permission to speak one more time before the vote, and Thomer had granted it. Now Derek stood at the center platform with Amy and Peter beside him. The chamber was packed even fuller than the day before. Word had spread that this was the moment when humanity's fate would be decided. Derek's hands were steady as he activated the holographic display. He had spent all night preparing what he would say, but now that the moment had arrived, he felt surprisingly calm. Honored council members, he began. You fear us because we remind you of the Virkith. I understand that. Your fear is based on experience, on trauma that runs 80,000 years deep. I cannot erase that fear with words alone. But I can tell you why humans are different. And it comes down to one simple fact. We had to choose. He brought up an image of early humans, primitive ancestors living in caves. Our omnivory is not a recent development. Our ancestors ate both plants and meat millions of years ago. But here's what you need to understand. Unlike pure carnivores who must hunt or die, and unlike pure herbivores who can only eat plants, we had options. Every single day, our ancestors had to decide what to eat. Amy stepped forward. That decision had consequences. If we only ate meat, we would overhunt and destroy our food supply. If we only ate plants in one area, we would strip the land bare. Our survival depended on making smart choices about consumption. And those choices became the foundation of human ethics. Derek changed the image to show early human agriculture. We developed farming not because we were herbivores, but because we needed to manage our consumption. We domesticated animals not because we were carnivores, but because we needed sustainable sources of food. We learned to preserve, to store, to plan for the future. Every human food tradition is built on the principle of restraint. But you still consume both, Koval interrupted. You still refuse to choose one path. Yes, Derek agreed. But that's exactly the point. We choose every day not to eat everything we could eat. Let me show you. Peter stepped forward now, carrying a tray. On it was a simple meal, similar to what he had prepared before. I want to explain something about human food culture, Peter said. When I prepare a meal, I make dozens of choices. I choose which vegetables to use based on what's in season, what's sustainable. I choose meat from animals that were raised humanely. I choose to cook in ways that honor the ingredients, that don't waste anything. He picked up a carrot from the tray. This carrot came from a farm where they practice crop rotation to keep the soil healthy. The farmers make sure they don't deplete the land. He set it down and picked up a piece of chicken. This chicken was raised in a place where the animals are treated well, given space and care. These choices matter to us. But you still kill the chicken, Krelon said. You still take a life. Yes, Peter admitted. And humans have debated that for thousands of years. Some of us choose not to eat meat at all because they believe killing is wrong. They're called vegetarians or vegans. Others believe eating meat is acceptable if the animal was treated well and killed humanely. Still others hunt their own food to maintain a direct connection to what they consume. We have dozens of different ethical frameworks around eating. Amy brought up new data on the display. On Earth, we have conservation laws. We have endangered species protections. We have limits on fishing and hunting. We have sustainable farming practices. All of this exists because humans recognized that our ability to eat anything meant we needed rules to prevent eating everything. We created ethics to limit ourselves. The Virkith had no such limits, Nemrus said. His voice was thoughtful, not accusatory. They saw their omnivory as freedom from restraint. And that's the difference, Derek said. Humans see our omnivory as responsibility. Because we can eat anything, we must choose carefully what we do eat. That choice is the core of human morality. He changed the image again, showing modern Earth. Every major human religion and philosophy includes teachings about food. What to eat, when to eat it, how to prepare it, how to be grateful for it. We have fasting traditions where we choose not to eat to practice self-discipline. We have feast traditions where we share food to build community. Food is not just fuel for us. It's a constant reminder that we have power and must use it wisely. Zaxxon stood up. This is interesting, but words are easy. The Virkith also spoke of responsibility at first. How do we know you are different? Derek had expected this. Because we've already proven it. We've had the technology to end all life on Earth for decades. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, tools of total destruction. We could have consumed everything, destroyed everything. But we didn't. We chose restraint. We chose cooperation. We chose to control our worst impulses. You still have wars, Hackthar pointed out. Yes, Derek agreed. We're not perfect. We still make mistakes. But we learn from them. After our worst wars, we created international laws, peace treaties, organizations dedicated to preventing future conflicts. We don't just follow our nature. We actively work against our destructive impulses. Amy added, and that's true for food too. We've recognized when we're overfishing an area and created protected zones. We've seen when hunting is pushing a species toward extinction and banned it. We've learned that some agricultural practices damage the environment and we're changing them. We adapt our behavior based on consequences. Some are leaned forward. But you could change again. You could decide tomorrow to abandon these limits. So could you? Derek said. Any species could choose to break their own rules. The question is not whether change is possible. The question is what guides that change. For humans, it's the understanding that we are powerful and that power must be tempered with wisdom. Peter spoke again. Let me make you a meal right now. A real human meal, with all the thought and care that goes into it. He began the work, and this time the aliens watched more carefully. Peter selected vegetables, examining each one, discarding any that were not fresh. He explained why he chose certain ingredients over others, talking about flavor balance and nutritional value. When he prepared the meat, he did so with visible respect, not treating it casually. In human culture, Peter said as he cooked, there's a tradition of saying thanks before eating. Different cultures do it differently, but the meaning is the same. We acknowledge that something gave its life or its growth so we could eat. We express gratitude. We recognize the sacrifice. He plated the meal beautifully, arranging each component with care. Then he paused before eating. Thank you to the farmers who grew these vegetables. Thank you to the ranchers who raised this animal. Thank you to the cooks and workers who made this meal possible. And thank you to the lives that sustain mine. Then he ate, slowly and with appreciation. It was not the casual eating that had disturbed the aliens before. This was deliberate, mindful consumption. The chamber was quiet. Derek could see some aliens exchanging glances, reconsidering. Velkara stood up. I have been afraid of humans since they arrived. I still am most. But I think I have been afraid of the wrong thing. I feared your hunger. But perhaps I should have recognized your restraint. I too have concerns, Krelon said. I still believe killing for food is wrong. But I can acknowledge that humans have thought deeply about these questions. More deeply, perhaps, than my own people, who simply follow their herbivorous nature without question. Akthar rumbled, but might have been approval. There is honor in choosing restraint when you have the power to take everything. My people respect strength, but we respect wisdom more. I see wisdom in what these humans describe. Zaxxon stepped forward. I spoke earlier about the lack of unified human ethics around food. I saw it as weakness. But now I see it differently. My people have one way of eating, one set of rituals. We follow them because they are tradition. But humans must constantly choose, constantly debate, constantly evaluate their choices. That is harder than following tradition. It requires active thought, not passive obedience. Elder Nemrus floated to the center of the chamber. I have lived a long time. I remember the Virkith. And I can tell you definitively that these humans are not them. The Virkith saw their omnivory as proof they were superior to all other species. They believed their ability to eat anything made them entitled to take anything. But humans see their omnivory differently. They see it as a responsibility, a burden to be carried with care. The ancient being turned to face Derek. The Virkith ate to conquer. Humans learn to eat with gratitude and limitation. That is the difference. That is why I will vote to accept humanity into the Unity Assembly. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Derek felt Amy grip his hand. This was the moment. Thomer stood. The council will now vote. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Unity Assembly? Slowly, hands and appendages and tentacles rose throughout the chamber. Not all of them. Some aliens still looked afraid, still unsure. But it was enough. More than enough. The motion passes, Thomer announced. Humanity is accepted. The chamber erupted in noise, some cheering, some protesting, all reacting. Derek felt like his knees might give out. They had done it. Against all odds, they had convinced the galaxy to accept them. Velkara approached them as the chamber began to clear. There are conditions,